All right, so you ready to jump into the world of electric meter technicians?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
People are curious about this career path, and thankfully we've got this whole stack of info from RoleCatcher.
It's going to be your cheat sheet, to really understanding this job.
Yeah, like what it actually is, what they
Yeah.
do, all that good stuff.
It's funny. Most people, when they think electric meter technician, they're picturing like someone just jotting down numbers from a meter.
Right, like that's the whole job.
But it's so much more dynamic
Yeah.
and way more interesting than you might think, honestly.
Okay, so let's break that down right from the start. What does an electric meter technician actually do every day?
So it's a mix. You got to have the technical skills, but you're also on your feet problem solving constantly.
Right.
It's about installing, maintaining, repairing. We're talking about entire electric meter systems,
The
right?
whole shebang.
Make sure your lights stay on, but also, importantly, that your energy bills are accurate.
Oh, that's a good point. It's not just keeping the lights on, it's making sure everything's fair and accurate.
Imagine if energy use wasn't accurately recorded.
Oh, that'd be chaos.
Total chaos. These technicians are like, energy detectives in a way,
I like that.
making sure everything's running smoothly and equitably, from a single apartment to a giant factory.
So we're talking about really different environments. That's got to make the job pretty unpredictable. What's a typical day even like for an electric meter technician?
Honestly, there's really no typical day.
I bet.
You could be outside one day braving the elements to install a meter at some new house,
Okay.
and the next you're deep inside a power plant working with engineers on some complex problem.
Wow. So you need to be able to handle both sides of that coin.
Oh, absolutely. And let's not forget the customer interaction.
Oh, right, because you're the face of the utility company in a lot of cases.
Exactly. Explaining bills, answering questions, even showing people how to use those fancy smart meters.
Right. So it's technical, it's problem solving. Sounds like you need some serious people skills too.
It's not just about the wires and the meters. You got to connect with people too.
So we've talked about what the job entails, the environments,
Yeah.
but let's be real. What are the pros and cons here?
Sure, let's start with the good stuff. Job security is a big one. We're going to need electricity.
Always.
And with the push for things like renewable energy, smart grids, those kinds of things, we're going to need even more skilled technicians.
That makes sense.
Plus, it's well paid, usually good benefits. You're always learning new things as technology changes, so it never gets boring.
Sounds pretty good so far. But there's got to be some downsides too. What should people be aware of?
Of course. It is physically demanding work, often outdoor and in all kinds of weather.
Right. Rain or shine, you're out there.
And you're dealing with electrical systems, which, can be dangerous if you're not careful. Safety is paramount.
Absolutely. So to sum it up, this might be the perfect job for someone who likes a challenge, being hands-on, and doesn't mind a little unpredictability.
I'd say that's a pretty accurate description. If you're good with your hands, have an eye for detail, and aren't afraid of a little hard work, this could be a great fit.
A perfect fit.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not your average 9 to 5 sitting at a desk kind of gig. And it seems like the skills you need, it's more than just reading a meter, right?
Eh?
But what about actually getting into the field? Where do you even begin with something like this?
It's like most skilled trades, really. You got to build that solid foundation first.
Okay.
So think like apprenticeships, entry-level positions, that's where you learn from the people who've been doing it for years.
Right. So you're not just thrown into the deep end on day one with a tool belt.
Yeah. Haha, no, not quite. It's all about hands-on experience. You're working side by side with those experienced technicians, assisting with installations, learning how to troubleshoot the simple things first, getting familiar with the different types of meters, all that. RoleCatcher actually calls this stage a junior electric meter technician.
Makes sense. You got to crawl before you can walk, right?
Exactly.
So then, after that initial phase, what's next? How do you actually, move up in this field?
Well, that's when things get really cool.
Oh, yeah.
As you gain more experience, your expertise grows, and you can climb that career ladder. You might become a senior technician, leading teams, designing those bigger project installations. You might even find a niche and specialize.
Oh, specialization within electric meters. What does that even look like?
Oh, there's more to it than you'd think. Some folks really get into the building and construction side of things. They work directly with architects, electricians, making sure the meter systems are part of the plan from the get-go.
So, the metering architects, making sure everything's wired up right from the start. That's cool. What else is there?
If you're more mechanically inclined, you could become the meter expert. Knowing everything about how they work, from the old analog ones to those smart meters everyone's talking about, you could even be on the cutting edge, helping develop and test the next generation of metering technology.
Wow, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, huh?
Hmm.
Okay, speaking of smart meters, RoleCatcher mentioned them as a big industry trend. What exactly are they, and why should someone interested in this field care about them?
They're like electric meters 2.0, not just measuring how much electricity you use, but they give you all this detailed data about how and when you're using it. Real-time updates sent directly to the utility company and the customer.
Hold on, so it's like, instead of just knowing how much electricity I used last month, I can see exactly when I was using the most.
You got it. Down to the minute.
That's amazing. What can you even do with all that information?
Oh, it changes everything. For everyday people, it means taking control of their bills, seeing which appliances are using the most energy when they're using it most, basically giving them the power to save money.
Oh, I see. So it's like empowering the consumer. That's awesome.
Right. And for the utility companies, it's huge for managing the entire grid. They can use that data to balance the load better, maybe predict outages before they happen, even do things like dynamic pricing based on real-time demand.
Wow. Okay, so smart meters are changing the game. But what does that mean for someone who actually works as an electric meter technician? How does it change what they do every day?
It's a whole new world. It's not just about the physical installation and maintenance anymore. Technicians need to be comfortable with all the digital stuff too. Communication protocols, data security, software. It's a lot.
Sounds like it.
They could be troubleshooting wireless connections, analyzing consumption data to help people save money, even teaching customers how to use all this new data from their smart meter.
So it's way more than just a technical job now, huh? It's
Yeah,
like
man.
you need a bit of everything. Data analysis, customer service, maybe even some energy consulting thrown in there.
You hit the nail on the head. And with all that change, there's an even greater need to keep learning, getting those specialized certifications.
Oh, you're right. Speaking of certifications, are there specific ones that are like essential for electric meter technicians these days? Especially if you want to stand out. I'm sure our listener wants to hear about that.
Yeah, certifications are huge. It's how you really know your stuff, you know. So what should people be looking into? What's out there?
RoleCatcher mentions a few big ones. There's the electric meter technician certification. That's a good foundation.
Great.
Shows you understand how meters work, the installation, maintenance, safety, all that.
So it's like, that's the baseline.
Right. Then you have your journeyman electrician certification.
Yeah.
That one's a bigger commitment, though. It's usually a multi-year apprenticeship, more
Yeah.
broad electrical work.
So it's more versatile. You could go in a few different directions with that. Exactly. But even with the certifications, you got to know how to sell yourself in an interview.
Right, because they'll ask you about all this stuff. What are some of those questions like? I know RoleCatcher always has good examples.
One they mention is, walk me through how you troubleshoot a faulty meter. They want to see your thought process.
You can't just say, I'd fix it,
Right. They want to hear those steps, the logic behind it.
like a detective, a meter detective.
Exactly. And since this job's all about safety, they'll definitely ask about that. Like, what are the most important safety protocols when working with high voltage systems?
Proving you know how to handle those dangerous situations.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it's more than just the technical skills. You got to be detail oriented. Every reading has to be accurate, connections secure, safety precautions followed.
Right, it's a big responsibility.
It is.
It's like you said before, making sure things are fair and equitable for everyone.
There you go. And as we rely on electricity even more, the role of an electric meter technician, it's only going to become more important.
Totally. It's a good career to be in, that's for sure. Lots of opportunities, especially for people who like to work with their hands, who are curious about technology, and obviously who value being accurate and safe.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So for anyone listening, if you think this might be the career path for you, do your research, dive deeper. And while you're at it, here's something to think about. Electric vehicles are everywhere now, right? And we're going to need a lot more charging stations. How do you think electric meter technicians will fit into that? How will their role change to support this like electrified future? Pretty interesting stuff to think about.